My name is Evelyn, and I was thinking when I was watching this video, how can I have a YouTube channel without using it for good? I want to use this channel as much as possible to raise awareness about things that need to be changed in this country. Now, I'm not a person who chooses sides politically and fights with people online or fights with people on Facebook, but if you have any fiber of moral character, you should agree with me on the issue of sex trafficking. By that, I mean America has a major problem, and the news stations hardly mention it. It hardly gets publicized at all, but it's a major, widespread issue. My belief, especially after watching this, is that websites like Craigslist and other websites that are used as sex trafficking hubs, they need to be shut down and their creators need to be thrown in jail. Why? Because they are profiting financially from the kidnapping of children, and they're being sold into the sex industry. Now, sometimes there are pimps that will sell people because of they'll get a girl addicted to drugs, or they'll beat them, or they'll get kids or older women or immigrants from other countries. They'll use them for financial gain in an evil way. Anyway, watch this video with me and we'll have this be a reaction video.
Megan Kelly, and we begin with the story of a mother's promise to seek justice for her daughter. That promise led them on an 8-year journey that ended this month at the White House. When Nicole's daughter, who we are calling JS, ran away, upset over a bad grade, the teenager was lured into a nightmare situation. At just 15 years old, she says she was sold, it's happening in America, to hundreds of men for sex. Mostly on the website Backpage.com. At the family's request, we are not giving their full names in order to try to protect their identities, but watch this.
Some of my favorite hobbies are collecting porcelain dolls and playing soccer, of course.
JS grew up in a typical middle-class home with a great family.
I was a happy kid. I did sports, played musical instruments, violin, piano. I was really kind of like the jack of all trades, wanted to do everything. I was really happy.
At 15 years old, she started to fall behind in one of her classes. Scared to show her parents her report card, she made a plan.
I ran away, got on a city bus, never done that. Didn't even know how city buses worked. I was like, everything's fine.
She made her way to a homeless shelter where she met a young woman who promised to help take care of her. The two went to a party where she was raped. Before that party, she was a virgin.
I wanted to keep my innocence for like a special person, and like I wasn't able to.
She then met Baruti Hobson, who invited her to stay with him. Within days, the 15-year-old was having sex with Hobson and started working for him as a prostitute. Hobson took provocative photos and posted them to sites like Backpage.com.
He really capitalized on the fact that my parents would be highly disappointed and not love me anymore. I'm dirty. He was very convincing in all of that.
While working for Hobson, she was arrested in a sting operation where JS told the police officer that she was 18 years old, and they let her go. But before she left, an officer took a photo of her. Later, as her parents kept pushing, investigators were able to use that photo to track her down to a posting on Backpage.com and planned a rescue operation to save the 15-year-old JS.
To see her come home and have that light gone out of her eyes was painful. I didn't think it would ever return.
She told investigators that she was sold up to 15 times a day.
She had long, beautiful brown hair. She had a sparkle in her eye. And I picked her up, and her hair was very short and choppy, and her nails were done, and she just didn't even look like herself. I'm looking around this parking lot for my child, and didn't realize that the child in the back of the police car was my child.
Joining me now, we referred to her as JS in the tape, but now she says she's comfortable using her name, Jessica. Welcome. You're here with your mom, Nicole. Thank you both so much for being here. I have to say, Nicole, what you did to save your daughter is nothing short of heroic.
This lady's my
We're
new
going to walk
hero.
the audience through it because there are other parents out there right now who don't know what to do.
She's
with
this
their missing
lady.
child or their child who's chosen to leave.
More people need to be like
but
this
let's go
woman
back
right here.
to the
More people
beginning.
need to stand up
You're-
against these websites.
You're a successful kid, right? Honor roll,
Yeah.
varsity soccer.
And wrestling, went to state in wrestling.
So-
Violinist.
You were happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like a broken family. It wasn't an abusive situation.
No, I had great parents, great siblings, good in school.
So how is it? Because we saw in the tape piece, you got a bad grade. Your one sibling went to college. You left home. What was it? What was the trigger that made you run away?
Bullies in school. Girls didn't understand why a girl would want to wrestle, and I didn't want to disappoint my parents, and so I figured just leaving would totally, they can't be disappointed if I'm not there. So that was.
You got on a bus.
Yep.
And wound up in downtown
Seattle.
Nowhere, not knowing anything.
Nothing. I didn't even know north. Like I didn't know any directions, anything.
We talk in the piece about the fact that you were raped, and that changed everything for you. You didn't see yourself the same
No.
again after that.
No.
Because after that you came back. You were returned home for about
10 days.
For 10 days,
Yeah.
and you left again.
No, I was gone for 10 days the first time I left, and I was home for about 2 months,
Okay.
and then I left again.
You left again. Why did you leave that second time?
I just didn't. I don't know. I really was dealing with a lot of shame, and I don't think any parent knows how to, take that on. And it was. I just didn't feel like I belonged there.
And that's it. That's when the second time when the
That's
sex
sad.
trafficking started happening.
Yes.
How does it happen, in your head? How do you go from a girl who has been raped and not long ago was the quote normal American girl to sitting in a hotel room with, your trafficker making you subject yourself to 15 men a day?
It happens faster than you can imagine, and it's just so much manipulation, and at one point you start believing that this is what you're meant to do, and that it's not necessarily a bad thing, and then you just shut down mentally and emotionally, and you just kind of go through the motions, and you don't really think about anything else, just trying to survive. And
This shouldn't be
How long
happening
was
in
the
our
period that
country
you were
at all.
doing that?
108 days.
108 days. And the entire time,
So many girls are
Mom
victimized by
was
this.
fighting in every way she knew how to find her daughter.
This mom, we need like
which was harder
10,000
than
more
it should
moms
be.
like this.
When was the first time you heard of Backpage.com?
Not until the trial of Brody Hobson.
Okay, so you didn't know about that when you were searching for her, because
I didn't.
now this has been outed. We talked about it on our show when we did a show on sex trafficking, as it's basically a clearinghouse for young girls who are for sale. And it's been operating in America for a long time, with impunity for far too long, because they say, hey, it's not us. We don't place the ads. We don't have responsibility over all the ads.
They shouldn't be allowed to legally do
And
this.
so just before that, though, how was it you connected with the detective who said, I'm going to find her?
So we were actually searching.
Should not be legal in our country at all.
We were searching.
We need to pass, like, a lot
who
more
came before
laws.
Backpage, and that's where we were looking for her.
Craigslist needs shut down too.
And basically, we
Disagree with me
connected
if you
with
want.
the detective just through missing picture want ads. We're distributing flyers of our child everywhere and anywhere we could, she had been arrested while she was missing, but they returned her to the pimp because they couldn't prove who she was. And when he saw her missing persons ad, he's like, "Oh, I've seen this child before," and that's when he started trying to find her again.
So how did he find you?
They did a sting and acted as if they were somebody.
The police officers are my other
soliciting
heroes.
sex, and ended up arresting me in the
I'm glad
hotel
they did
room.
that.
And did you
They
know
need
that he
to do
was
that
there on a
more.
mission from your parents? Like,
No.
this is...
Not at all.
Can I just jump back one step? When the men, because we talked about this with the other women who spoke out about this, the men who would pay for you, pay.
This is another thing that's despicable about our country.
Was there a typical profile? Like, who were these guys?
I don't think there's a profile for them. It's everybody. Fathers, businessmen, lawyers, black, white, Asian. I mean, it's everybody.
So it's not, I mean, you saw guys in suits with
What a
wedding rings
shame
come in.
for our country. What
Did
a
they
shame.
pay you or did they pay your trafficker?
Just wrong.
They would give it to me, and then if I didn't immediately
And they knew she was
afterwards give it
underage?
to my trafficker,
And they didn't care.
then I'd be beat. And so nothing went to me.
Her trafficker would beat her if she
Were
didn't
you
give the
alone
money to
during
him
that
right
time?
away.
I mean, were you having any feelings of, depression, or was it something like, I'm free and I've broken out of this existence? How was that for you?
I was definitely at a low point in my life. I was ashamed of myself, and I didn't think that my parents would ever want me back. And I just had accepted this lifestyle and figured I would die doing it.
And we're back
That's so
now with
sad.
Jessica and her mom, Nicole. We have been hearing about how Nicole launched
So
an
sad.
8-year legal and legislative battle to get justice for her daughter after Jessica was sold for sex on Backpage.com. Also with us now, Mary Mazzio, director of the documentary
Another
I Am
hero of
Jane
mine.
Doe, which chronicled the legal battles against Backpage.com, including Jessica's story. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you so much.
So the detective saves you. Do you still talk to him?
Yes, actually. Yeah.
Is it true you keep in touch every year?
Yeah, he calls me on my birthday, and he's actually the godfather of my oldest child.
Love that.
There are good
He
men
could
in
easily
America.
could
There
have
are good
returned
men
you
in the
back home
world.
and never spoken to you again.
Yeah.
I like what they
Things
say
like
right
that
here.
that really make everything so much better.
Yeah,
Just
restore your faith in
Yeah.
humanity. Not all men are meeting up in hotel rooms and taking advantage of
That's
15-year-old girls. Some men rescue them
That's right.
and stay in their lives forevermore.
If you're a man and you're
Nicole,
watching this, be a
you-
real man. Be a rescuer.
One
Don't
after
be
the
a
other went after
victimizer.
everyone.
Don't be an abuser.
So we started with the sex trafficker,
Baruti.
Baruti Haq. Okay, and what happened to Baruti?
He was sentenced to 26 and a half years.
Okay, that's number one. Then you
He
decided
better
to go after
rot
one of-
in jail
one of the
longer than
jobs.
that. That's all I have to say.
So we had completed that,
was the
battle
plan.
with Baruti Hudson, and Detective Geyer came to us and needed to re-interview Jessica. He had found her picture on a computer of a purchaser or John, and this guy was posing as a police officer and handcuffing and doing just extraordinary things to his victims. He got 14 years.
He got 14. Because she wasn't done yet.
Should be
So
more.
now she decides she's going to go after Backpage.com, which no one has been able to bring down, notwithstanding the fact that it's been out there doing this for a long time. And they rely on the First Amendment, saying, it's First Amendment, we don't, whatever.
The
you
First
can't shut
Amendment
down the
isn't
First
for
Amendment.
sex
And this is-
trafficking.
Nicole winds up not only suing.
If you're going to
Backpage,
sex traffic, you
civil
lose
action,
your First Amendment right, in
but
my opinion.
pushing to get the law changed in several states and pushing for national legislation that would shut down Backpage and protect women everywhere.
Exactly.
In her testimony before Congress, Nicole testified. This is a middle-class woman, just fighting the good fight. She testifies as follows: that claim to be protecting First Amendment rights while at the same time allowing my little girl to be sold on a website as a weekend special is wrong.
This is why
And
I'm making this video.
She won
People
that
need to
fight,
hear
too.
this.
So Mary, can you explain how? Tell the audience what has just happened to Backpage.
So we created a film, we had a congressional briefing, and members of Congress said, we need to respond to what these plaintiffs, there's been egregious wrong here, we really need to step forward. And so that's what happened, and last year there was legislation that was filed both in the House and the Senate, and Google-funded groups were the primary opponent. Google-funded groups had rushed to the aid of Backpage in Jess's case
Citing
and other
free
cases
speech.
around the country that other children were filing. In Boston,
Free
there were
speech
children
when
that
breaking
filed
other
suit, and the
laws
court
doesn't count
dismissed
as
that
free
case
speech.
saying,
Counts
even
as
if
trafficking.
Backpage had engaged, if you will, as a co-conspirator in the crime, because of an outdated internet law, we have to dismiss the case. Go to Congress. That's exactly what they've done. And in spite of all odds, that legislation was signed by the president just 2 weeks ago.
Thank you, President.
Nicole and Jessica
Whichever president it was at that time.
stood next to President Trump as he
Trump.
signed that bill into law.
Thank you, Trump.
You remember this
Trump
because
did something
President
good.
Trump gets credit for doing nothing. This was a good thing
This was a
to
big
do.
deal.
It was.
We need more laws passed like this. More laws passed like this.
I'm a lefty, and so I don't really agree with many of the president's policies. I will say when we were in there in the Oval Office, he was compassionate. He was kind to Nicole and Jessica and all of the other survivors there. He kept rubbing the back of one of the mothers, and I thought, this is.
I don't know if I like that much.
Not like that.
I'll say that he was very sympathetic because her child will never come home.
Yes, he was.
It was a rub of sympathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a kind gesture.
And
And
the kindest gesture of all was his signature on that.
Absolutely.
It should have been done long ago. So it's not over.
Should have been done 20
It's not
presidents
over
ago,
because
10
the next
presidents
step
ago.
they believe
Whenever
is
the
foreign
internet
agents
was
are gonna
first
try to
invented, they needed to
open
start
up
passing
their
laws
own
like this
back pages
against these
here in our
websites.
country to try to avoid our laws. This fight is ongoing, and we have to stay on top of it. I hope you're not giving up now. I hope you're not done.
We are in the midst of the criminal investigation against the owners of Backpage.
Right. The owners of Backpage have been charged.
yes, there was.
There's
last
7
week-
Backpage creators and employees who have been 9 now who have been charged.
They're held on 93 counts.
Yeah, and
Seven who have been charged with facilitating prostitution and other related crimes.
Craigslist needs to have the same thing happen at other websites like it.
Yeah, Carl Ferrer, the CEO, just pled guilty. And so that is going to give the government a lot more information and evidence about what was happening behind the scenes.
He's turned because he knew. I have to get to this because Google has given us a statement saying we have long contributed to many independent organizations because of their advocacy on a wide range of internet issues, including privacy, surveillance reform, and the open internet. We don't agree with every group 100% of the time, but they are independent and autonomous organizations.
Really? Really?
Get your
I'm
act
gonna
together,
Sorry, I don't
Google.
want to go off on a rant, but one of the
Stop doing
primary
this.
opponents to this legislation has been Google and Google-funded groups, and we were bumping into them up and down the hill. And so that was extraordinary for a company whose motto is "Don't be evil," to be actively funding groups that were supporting.
Don't be
Backpage
evil is a
and
good
filing
motto to
huge
stick to.
briefs in
Sex
cases
trafficking is a good
against
thing
the
not to
children,
stick
against
to
the-
Google.
the plaintiffs.
For them, it's a First Amendment issue, but there's a real question about whether the First Amendment, how far does it go in protecting in the technology and the internet?
They're
age, a group
misusing
like this that
the
is
term First
facilitating
Amendment. They're
repeated
misusing it.
crimes against our youngest and most
For
innocent.
crime.
We did reach out to those Backpage defendants. We only heard from one, Andrew Padilla, who maintains his innocence and says there are First Amendment free speech issues here that he'll argue in court. We want to tell you that if you or someone you know may be the victim of sex trafficking, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888. We'll have that and more information at today.com/Megan Today. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you for watching this video. As they said, my belief, especially after watching this, is that all of the websites need to be shut down that have any sort of sex trafficking on it. That's including Craigslist, that's including Backpage, that's including... There's a laundry list, and they're making millions and billions of dollars from pimps, from abusing children and women who are addicted to drugs, and it's wrong. And I mean, feel free to look up sex trafficking in America, sex trafficking survivors, and watch their stories on YouTube. Get informed. Write a letter to any lawmaker you have and let them know that laws need to be passed. Pray for our country. Pray for improvements in this area. There are a lot of men in our country that pay women for sex, and there are a lot of men in our country who rescue women out of sex trafficking. If you're a man and you're watching this, choose to be a rescuer. Don't choose to be an abuser. God created a man to be attracted to the body of a woman. That's why a man needs his wife. And it's despicable if a man were to call himself a Christian and traffic young women. He should seek for himself a wife and to repent of his sins. Alright, thank you. I hope this video was helpful for you, and I am happy to be a part of getting this information out. Thanks. Bye.